People were segregated for a considerable amount of time. Pain, conflict, death, all that contributed towards mistrust and misinterpretations.
The way history was taught didn't allow for tolerance, didn't allow for respect to the other, or didn't allow respect to diversity.
Şimdi öncelikle ben tarih dersleri yaptığımda her zaman düşünürüm ki tarih dersleri her zaman tek taraflı anlatılıyor.
Unfortunately, in school syllabuses, they do not include the whole truth.
So I guess here comes the role of an NGO like the Association for Historical Dialogue and Research, because what it actually does is dealing with this problem of master narratives and their pernicious effects.
Back in 2003, a group of educators, we decided to establish the Association for Historical Dialogue and Research. We wanted to introduce in Cyprus modern approaches to history teaching and modern pedagogies that will enable children and students to develop historical understanding and critical thinking.
And we were actually kind of labeled as traitors to our own communities because we were collaborating with the members of other community. I remember myself being kind of threatened just because of this. And to learn the other's perspective.
We had to bring together educators from across the existing divide. Imagine these people coming together to discuss about sensitive issues as the history teaching in Cyprus.
At the political level, it was the fear across the divide of, are they trying to do something more than that just teaching? Are they trying to change people's minds and identities?
Hala erkek egemen bir dile sahiptir ve ulusal kimliğe vurgu yapmaktadır.
Rum tarafında bir işgal adı altında anlatılan Türkiye çıkartması, Türk tarafında Mutlu Barış Harekatı olarak anlatılır.
Επειδή απλά μας έμαθαν το ότι μια μέρα απλά έγινε μια εισβολή και απλά χωρίστηκε η Κύπρος, επειδή δεχόμαστε μια πλήση εγκεφάλου, χωρίς να ξέρουμε πραγματικά το τι έγινε.
We as teachers and teacher trainers needed material that would help us tackle all these issues.
Η μεθοδολογία του ομίλου ιστορικού διαλόγου διαφέρει πάρα πολύ από το παραδοσιακό, το οποίο είναι το στερεότυπο που έχουμε μάθει, χωρίς κριτική, χωρίς κριτική σκέψη, χωρίς αμφισβήτηση, χωρίς αμφιβολία.
Tarihsel Diyalog ve Araştırma Merkezi, Araştırma Derneği'nin bizlere sunduğu seminer, çalıştay veya konferanslar sayesinde farklı açılardan konulara bakmayı öğrendik.
The first is introduction.
How do you approach missing persons across the existing divide? How do you talk about pain? How do you approach death?
So you're in your classroom and you show them this photograph and you ask them, who are these people? What are they going to say?
I would say that for quite a while, the two sides were almost unaware that there were missing persons in the other side.
The issue on missing persons has been a quite sour issue for both sides, in a sense, and it was hijacked for a while by politicians.
We thought that bringing the two stories together could be a very interesting topic for people in both communities, and that would make people understand that thinking historically about missing persons is not about Greek Cypriots or Turkish Cypriots.
So you can see different elements of multi-perspectivity, historical thinking, and what in social psychology discuss in the context of intergroup relations and reconciliation being combined in a single approach. That I would call it the transformative approach.
It's about all Cypriots, it's about, in the end of the day, it's about every human being.
Halkın Sesi gazetesine göre olay 26 Mayıs 1956'da oldu.
Το πιο κάτω γεγονός, όπως καταχωρείται για να παραμείνει στην ιστορία, συνέβη στις 26 του Μάη 1956. Τούρκοι ένοπλοι πυροβόλησαν εναντίον ανύποπτων θαμώνων ελληνικού καφενείου στο γειτονικό με την Άσσα μεικτό χωριό Αφάνια.
Bu akşam Afanya'da vuku bulan hadiseler arasında bir Kıbrıslı Türk ölmüş, bir ev ve bir motosiklet yanmıştı.
The critical history project is interesting because it uses a lot of primary sources, mostly newspapers, and if there was, let's say, an event of violence at one village, they will see how it was reported by Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots.
Through the process of selective memory, we choose what we want to remember, therefore they choose what they want to teach us. They don't teach us what happened, they teach us what they want us to know.
By exposing that construction, we could also show the multi-perspectivity of the situation. For example, you have a perpetrator who was a victim on other event, or perpetrator becoming a victim on other events. So you could create the patterns and see all these socio-political backgrounds of situations. So it wasn't just one day people just took the guns and started shooting at each other. So that helps to understand the other side's worries, but also politics in that sense, in order to analyze the situation.
Όταν σμίξουν αυτές τις ιστορίες, τότε μπορείς να είσαι πιο ρεαλιστής, να είσαι πιο κοντά στην πραγματικότητα του πώς νιώθει ο άνθρωπος και πώς συνέβηκαν κάποια θέματα.
Going back to the past, I remember when we had no place to meet. Should we meet in the south? Should we meet in the north? Showing passports was also a difficulty. At some points we could not access each other.
Hi, Kuryakos.
Hello, Ayali.
How are you? Fine, thank you.
So, after so many years, so many efforts, having a cultural space, having NGOs literally living in the home for cooperation and working together is like the impossible becoming possible.
The meeting place was another great challenge that we faced in the beginning of our initiative, as Cyprus being divided geographically between the two communities does not provide spaces where could be called shared spaces and easily accessible for members of both communities across the existing divide.
The Home for Cooperation is located in the buffer zone, inside the dividing line, inside, let's call it, this kind of border. And borders are, of course, places that divide, but they can also be bridges, and they can also be very creative spaces because they bring difference together.
Αρέσκει μου πάρα πολλά η ιδέα του ότι υπάρχει ένας χώρος που δεν υπάρχει καθόλου μίσος μεταξύ των δύο πλευρών και πιστεύω ότι το μέρος εν το μέλλον της Κύπρου, ότι αν υπάρξουν παραπάνω τέτοια μέρη που να μπορούμε να πηγαίνουμε ελεύθερα, να μιλούμε με τους άλλους, ότι υπάρχει μια ελπίδα για το μέλλον.
Burası bana pozitif enerji ve aslında hiçbir farklılığımız olmadığını belirten bir yer. Ve burada barışın olabileceği, barış umudu ve insanların tek bir amacı olduğunu gösteriyor.
This didn't exist a couple of years back. So not everybody had the chance to say, you know what, I'm going to go in a neutral area where I can discuss some things with my fellow friends, my fellow Cypriots.
By establishing a space controlled, managed, administered, and sort of sustained by a bicommunal NGO, that was also the first in Cyprus.
We, as we stand here under the roof of the Home for Cooperation, we have managed to change the fabric of the community. We're very present. We became kind of a unifying agent between the two communities initially, but then also connecting to the other communities living in Cyprus.
And it symbolizes what human nature can do when there is cooperation and there is like-mindedness and multi-perspectivity and open-mindedness.
The methodology we suggest, we introduce, can be used in any classroom in Cyprus, enabling children to develop critical thinking and historical understanding.
Και πιστεύω ότι αν δεν αλλάξει κάτι στο σύστημα της παιδείας, δεν μπορεί να αλλάξει γενικά.
Umarım ki ileride ya da en yakın zamanda insanlar tarihi gerçek gözden ve sadece tek bir bakış açısından değil de gerçekleri görebileceği bir okul ve eğitim sistemi sağlanır bu adada.
We have showcased that we can work together, we can produce together, we can overcome our difficulties, and we have been successful in that. We have many common traditions, many common ways that we can build our future on. Okay, we also have differences, but they're not things that we cannot overcome.